So, a quick introduction. My name is Daurys Ramirez. I am a computer science major on my second year here at the Bloomsburg campus. Um, Today, I will be talking about cyber warfare and state sponsored hacking, specifically the rising possibilities for cyber conflicts between nations. I chose this topic because of my general interest in tech, but it also touches on the impact and use of AI, which has become an important aspect of everyday life, as well as the importance of cybersecurity as we continue to digitize nearly every aspect of our lives. So, to get right into it, the problem. What is cyber warfare? So, cyber warfare is the use of computer technology to disrupt the activities of a state or organization, specifically the deliberate attacking of information systems for strategic or military purposes. Some techniques of cyber warfare include media manipulation and direct hacking attacks. So, media manipulation. Um, this includes AI generated images and fake news and misinformation. So, AI has become a powerful tool in the world of cybersecurity, or just the cyberspace in general. It has been used for a lot of good purposes and a lot of bad purposes. For example, I believe in 2024 it was that fake videos and pictures of President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin started circulating around about their arrests. This just caused a lot of conversation and discussion online. Um, and that is mainly the purpose of these type of attacks because they aim to distract the public from other more important topics. So a lot of these attacks are going to be strategically planned and deployed during other bigger conflicts to distract attention. Another example of this is in 2025, it was reported that this tactic of AI use was used to imitate the voices of high-ranking government officials. Especially, it was used to impersonate Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which is this guy down here, and possibly other officials to attempt to reach out to at least three foreign ministers. So the U.S. was able to handle this pretty well, and no major damage was done. Um, so at least nothing was done from that. And then in the case of fake news and misinformation, after the wildfires in Maui of 2023, a video started circulating on TikTok claiming that these fires had been started by the US government using very advanced technology in the form of a light beam sent from a US satellite. The video shows a light beam from the sky pointing at an explosion in the middle of a city, which is this picture right here. However, it was later revealed that this video was actually a video of a generator exploding in Chile, and the light beam might just be the reflection of, I think it was recorded from a window. It is believed that this video and this misinformation was promoted and fueled by China-linked accounts, and the circulation of this video caused a lot of panic and distrust in the public towards the government. So during this time, conspiracy theories started going very popular and circulating around all around the internet, which created a lot more panic. So moving on, cyber attacks, direct cyber attacks. So several examples of direct cyber attacks backed by government agencies include the Muleshoe and Hill Center incidents. So these were water plants in Muleshoe, uh, Texas, that were hacked by groups like the Sandworm and Cyber Army of Russia, Reborn, which are military cyber groups associated with the Russian government. And in these cases, water started to overflow. Thankfully, the water was not tainted or contaminated, which leads officials to believe that the case or the reason behind these incidents or attacks were not to cause damage, but rather to gather information and test vulnerabilities. Another example of this is the 2015 Ukraine power grid hack. So, in December 23rd, 2015, the power grid in two western regions of Ukraine were hacked, which resulted in power outages for roughly 230,000 consumers in Ukraine for about 1 to 6 hours. So this attack was also attributed to the Russian military cyber group Sandworm from Moscow. Sandworm, it's part of the Russian military, and it's actually a pretty strong unit. Also, Russian linked cyber attacks on Italy were reported, in which the Italian government prevented a series of cyber attacks of foreign ministry sites and even the Winter Olympic sites. And there has also been many instances in which countries like Singapore and the Czech Republic accused China of hacking and espionage. So you'll see that Russia and China are a lot of tend to be the perpetrators of these attacks. So possible solutions, pretty much detection and deterrence. When it comes to cybercrime, individual measures are necessary as well as international cooperation. So individuals cybersecurity measures. It is necessary for individual countries all around the world to start implementing very strong firewalls which prevent unauthorized access to private networks, very strong encryption of data as it's being transmitted, so it cannot be used if it is intercepted. Updates of their security systems. So as cybersecurity techniques continue to advance, it's very important for these government agencies and big companies to keep up to date with these updates, as well as employee training. So cybersecurity training for employees is very critical because of the how common phishing attacks are, in which fake messages are sent to these individuals so they can click on a specific link that grants the attacker access to their network. But in my opinion, the most important measure that can be taken is international cooperation. This includes confident building measures, which includes transparency and just clear communication between countries so that no suspicious activity is ever miscommunicated that leads to bigger conflicts. Another important part is capacity building. This means just that smaller countries or developing countries need help from these bigger countries to build their cybersecurity defense capabilities so that they're not that vulnerable for bigger countries to take or exploit these um, weaknesses. Um, this is very important because countries like Nigeria reported 3,000 cases of ransomware threats in 2025, which is a huge amount. And ransomware threats are um, it's a ransomware is a type of malware in which it encrypts your personal data so that you can access pretty much anything on your system unless you pay the attacker a specific amount of money or whatever they're asking for, whatever ransom they're asking for. And in 2025 also it was reported that in Africa, cybercrime made up 30% of all overall crime, which is a huge number. Another important solution is international laws and agreements. So first I'm going to talk about what it is currently in place, and then we're going to talk about what is needed. So as of right now, there exists the Budapest Convention of 2001, which was the very first major milestone and agreements about cybercrime, and then the more recent, the UN Cybercrime Treaty, which was set to create an unprecedented platform for collaboration in the exchange of evidence between countries. So to compare these two, similarities is the shared goals to combat cybercrime, mechanism of international cooperation. So encouraging and facilitating um, countries to work with one another when it comes to um, persecuting these criminals, and then legally as aligned definitions. They both aim to make clear definitions to facilitate legal proceedings. And then differences, differences in scope and focus. The Budapest Convention focuses more on criminalization of a specific list of cybercrimes, while the UN treaty has a broader approach that includes prevention and even includes this topic that we were talking about previously of capacity building for smaller countries. Then there's the human rights and safeguards. It is believed that the Budapest has more explicit language that protects human rights, while the UN treaty leaves a lot of this to domestic law. There's then the difference of global participation. The Budapest Convention was more Eurocentric and with participation from a few Western countries, and notably Russia, China, India, and Brazil refused to sign this treaty. However, the a lot of these people did, or countries rather, did participate in the UN Cybercrime Treaty. And then procedural powers and cooperation tools. The biggest difference is that the UN Cybercrime Treaty includes provision for confiscation and participation between countries. And then they include witness protection, which is excluded in the Budapest Convention. Um, so, in summary, these treaties do not offer a direct solution for the problem of cyber warfare, specifically because they focus on individual criminals, not state on state attacks. So, as of right now, no binding international cyber warfare exists. But this does not mean that the cyberspace is completely lawless, since um, older conventions or agreements on warfare have been adapted to include uh, adaptations to cybercrime. For example, if a cyber attack causes similar effects to a kinetic attack, like shutting down a power grid, this attack can fall under the Geneva Convention, which provides protection for civilians. So, what do we need? We need strong defensive systems, as I have said before. Each individual country needs to implement cybersecurity measures to prevent attacks, as well as clear international rules for cyber warfare that define what is cyber use of force and what is off limits, like hospitals and civilian institutions. Also, it is needed for to improve attribution and transparency. Um, States tend to hide under plausible deniability, so strong attribution systems that share forensic evidence jointly and publicly make retaliation and sanctions more credible and kind of deter these countries from hiding and makes it more difficult for them to conduct these attacks. That is all I have. Thank you, and I hope you learned something new.